Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Earhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. So today we have the mighty Pete Lonton, and this guy is doing some amazing work, and let's just get right into it. Pete, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Listen, thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to meet new people and get to expand to new audiences. So, yes, my name is Mighty Pete Lonton. I go under the brand of Mighty Pete, and I am a number of things, but mainly it is I help people in terms of business entrepreneurs to really unlock their genius. And we do a program called Deep Genius. So, it's all about finding who they are, what they're capable of. I've also written a best-selling book called Be Heard to Be Rich. I have my own podcast called Fire in the Belly, and yeah, TEDx talk as well. So lots of different things. And listen, I'm enjoying the learning new things, meeting new people, and just expanding every day. So yeah, listen, I really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, same here. I love just growing every day. Like I wake up every morning with the intent to be 1% better than I was the day before. So
Absolutely, that's what it's all
I
about.
do gotta ask you though, where did you get your name? Like, how did you come up with that?
So it was a mixture of things, really. The years and years ago, there was a brand called basically it was all about the Mighty brand, and I always quite liked it. And I was working with a communications guy and a marketing guy, and they were saying, well, you could go under the brand, the Mighty brand, and then Mighty Pete, and really it became really easy to sort of be sort of recognized globally for mightypete.com. That the .com was available. It was a great way of getting the URL and all this. And funny, generally in America, people love it that you put your brand out there. The UK, Europe, etc., they would be a bit more cautious, a bit more introvert, and they're saying, well, that's you're very brave and sometimes egotistical to put it out there, but do you know what? It's a wonderful reminder to me every day to turn up and be the mightiest version of me. So it reminds me to turn up to do the best that I can do, and to really sort of put out my best possibilities. So yeah,
Yeah,
so it's a wonderful way of just reminding myself and branding, really, marketing.
yeah. I think it's really awesome. My business name is Nick Earhart. Like it's my name. Like I just name my business my name because your personal brand is more important than anything these days. Like once people like you, know you, and trust you, you're gonna just succeed everywhere. So, and then I have my slogan: "Your abilities are infinite." So I tie that with the brand all the time, and it's really becoming recognizable all over the world, which is awesome.
Absolutely, and that's great. Listen, and it's wonderful when we can use our names, and people can recognize you for that. Obviously there's pros and cons as you start to scale and things like that, but it's
Yep.
wonderful to have your brand and all the different businesses and different entities you can be involved in. And yeah, but your brand is your name, and that's the thing, you gotta protect it carefully too, right?
Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So when you're working with your clients, what's usually the first step that you guys take?
So a real mixture. So like anything, when I meet clients for the first time, so I work generally with a lot of business leaders, business entrepreneurs, people who are looking to, a bit like your shirt there. It's like people who are looking to 10x. People who are sort of looking to go there. As I found with a lot of clients, quite often it's not always about, what else they need to do. Quite often it's a case of what do they need to stop doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
Yep.
real key part for a lot of people, because they're saying, quite often people are tired, they're trying to scale, they're struggling with profits, etc. So they're certainly putting in the hard work, but they may be not seeing the results for various ways. So first thing we do is kind of a bit of a health check and saying, where are you today? So we look at that and saying what's happening, and then we also look at what's not happening. We then set a scale and a perspective and saying, what's the best thing that could happen here? What's the worst thing that could happen? And that then gives us a bit of an understanding of where they are today, where they're looking to go to, what's happening, what's not happening, where are they stuck in their business, and what they see as achievable. Because typically we tend to overestimate what we can do in a short time, and we underestimate what we can do in a long time. So it's trying to really sort of help people get that balance, and then also like I say, working on the Deep Genius program, it's actually helping people saying, well, listen, let's make sure your business is really focused on doing what you love to do, what you're passionate about, because that's generally where we can work and be of service to our greatest flow, where it's easiest for us to do that. It's great for us to serve. It actually we gain as much energy when we work as we do as it takes from us. So it's that ability to just have that that sort of opportunity to do what you love, and yeah, then you can be of amazing service, be very well financially paid, and really sort of help all those around you, right?
Yeah, and when you love what you're doing, it makes everything so much easier. I've over the last 3 years, I've gotten like sidetracked with these opportunities to go and more market for a company and get paid and things like that. And it's like, like it wasn't my product. It wasn't something that I believed in. So I didn't put a whole lot of effort into it because I didn't care. Now it's like, okay, I'm a business coach, and the thing that I love doing is helping people with their podcasts. So now that I'm doing that, oh, things are way better, and more money coming in, more clients. So yeah, it's really awesome.
Absolutely, and that's the thing for a lot of people. It's not about working harder, because most times people are working as hard as or harder than they need to be.
Yep.
Um, and that can be a limiting belief. There's a number of reasons why they're doing that, but it's understanding and deciding then and saying, here's how things are going to change. And we kind of work by a mantra of saying do less better.
Oh,
So
I
it's
like
not
that.
about how many more hours you can do or anything else. It's actually saying, well, it'd be far more effective if you took the time off, you go and you sharpen the axe, you take your time, and then actually you do something that you love to do, right?
Oh yeah, because there's a big difference between being busy and being productive. There's a big difference.
Absolutely.
We can all sit at a computer all day long. It's like some days you get done, you're like, I got a lot accomplished. Other days you get done, you're like, what did I do all day? So you gotta really, like you said, to put what you're not doing. What are the tasks that you shouldn't be doing? Let's get rid of those and focus on the higher priority tasks.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, they're so focused on what the client wants and you know where the most money is or whatever, and then they forget that actually, you know, it may be that there's money there, but actually that doesn't mean it's something they love to do. It's
Exactly.
something that maybe they're not naturally good at, but they're very much chasing money, or they're sort of lack based, which can be a real challenge in terms of being able to be of greater service to people, right?
Yep, definitely. Now let's talk more about your book.
hmm
I really want to learn more about that.
So the book really came about back in 2019. Started really, my intention was to set out to write a book. I didn't realize why. I mean, I'm a building engineer by trade, so I wasn't. I didn't necessarily sort of. I don't know where the idea, the incentive came from writing a book, but I thought it was a good idea. Simultaneously, at the time, I was diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD, so that could be a bit of a problem and a challenge whenever it comes to writing a book, right?
Definitely.
And I realized that actually what I wanted to do was make it sort of a collection of stories and help with just different people about what fire in the belly means for them, right? Because we're all different for some people. And the most common answer typically with fire in the belly is passion. So it's really understanding and saying, okay, how do I collect these stories? And I started to just have interviews and conversations with people about what fire in the belly meant to them, examples they have in their life, things that have happened. And very quickly, I was having very long, very deep conversations with people. And originally, the plan was that we would sort of take, a 5 minute segment of that conversation and just dump the rest. And we would use that to transcript and then put into the book. And after a while, it kind of felt really disrespectful because, when you just pick up a story with no context, or, it may be that there's, some really great lessons and learnings, but they just weren't making it into the book. So,
Mhm.
it was at that point then it was suggested that it'd be really good to put it into a podcast. So that's what we started to
Yeah.
do, is actually share the the recordings as a podcast and podcast episode. But simultaneously, then the fact that we were having all these conversations, and it was getting deeper and deeper, and it's quite a long format of podcast. I mean, typically my shows would be an hour and a half to 2 hours long, which is quite long. And yeah, it was really just finding that actually the strange thing is people were telling me stuff that maybe they'd never told anyone, and
Mhm.
maybe even those nearest and dearest to them, they were telling the story for the first time, and in front of a microphone. And so the question was, how come people are telling you this stuff? How come that actually, they've shared deep secrets? Now, the consequence was about a third of the interviews could not and would not go live because they had shared things that they weren't ready to maybe make publicly available. But the book was really sort of about sharing how that all of us quite often, really want the opportunity to share and to be basically share our lessons and insights, and really sort of help to talk about that. But unfortunately, we don't always get that chance, right? People are not always heard. People don't always get a chance to, you know, really sort of share their stories, their lessons, their insights, because
Mhm.
we're in a consumer age, right? Where people, we take on, we consume, we buy other people's product information, etc., but we don't get to share ours. So the book gave us a great insight and opportunity to share other people's stories and their lessons and insights, and that's kind of what the book was all about. Is hence the reason, be heard to be rich, is saying, and rich can be different things for different people. For me, rich
Yep.
and wealth comes in four ways. It comes in financial, comes in mental, comes in physical, and comes in spiritual. So we can be rich spiritually, financially, mentally, physically. So it's whatever's right for you. So that ability to be heard then actually gives us the opportunity to be rich in ourselves. So that's what it's all about.
I love it, and that's a lot of why I started my podcast. I want people to be able to share their journey, talk about what they went through, good and bad, how they overcome challenges, because all of that helps other people. You know, like you may think that your story is, you're the only person out there that has had that happen. Trust me, there's a lot of people out there that can relate to your story. Might not have happened exactly how it happened, but they can relate, and your insights on how you got through it can help them. So that's why it's just important just to get up, share your story, and talk. It's amazing how we have the power to share anything we want on social media, podcasts, YouTube. Like, we can just share our story. And trust me, once you start sharing, you're gonna find your group of people. And if you can build a business on that, even better.
Absolutely. And listen, I think we all have a story to share. We all have an opportunity, insights, and lessons. And I think sometimes people get a bit too, head up that actually their podcast or their book, they need to change the entire world, or they need to appeal to all 8 billion people of us on this rock.
Yep.
And you know what? Even if 0.0001% of the population, which is 800,000 or 8 million people, it's like that's more than you could probably serve in a lifetime. So we
Yep.
don't need to be liked and loved by everyone, but we all do have a tribe. We all have people that resonate and think like we do. So it's trying to really, really sort of say, what can we do? What can we do to improve and to just change the way that we deliver our services, and what's possible,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly. And now that we're talking about stories, what got you on this path? What made you want to start helping business owners?
So, like a lot of things, I think for me, it was really a very dark time in my life, and we had to sort of local government changed legislation, which essentially wiped out the market that we were in. So, in a fairly short period of time, we went from employing about 25 odd staff and contractors to basically having to lay off all the staff and close the business. And a mixture, there was sort of personal things going on in my life, but that triggered for me, that triggered a basically depression, and it triggered a massive change. So I understood through all that actually I wanted to come back better, quicker, faster. And my ability to do that, I now see it. At the time it was incredibly hard, but I now see it as a massive blessing. Everything that happened, I do believe things happen for a reason, and it's up to us whether we look at it as a a curse or a blessing. And I do think it is a blessing that how we can change who we are. So, like a lot of mentors, I think it's important that actually we've been able to have successful businesses, but also we've had businesses that have not been successful for various reasons. That depth and breadth of experience makes us an even better mentor. The fact that we can understand what happens when we have to lay off staff, when we have to change or let customers go, that we had to close things down or maybe open things up. So um, I find I was sort of a naturally quite good at it, and then also understanding where we have exposure, understanding then that I know when we were going through it, we didn't move quick enough. We were hoping that things would get better, but unfortunately, that doesn't always, doesn't translate into actual action. So now, in hindsight and understanding everything I've gone through, affords me the opportunity to share that with others and saying, when things start to change, that we need to be flexible and we need to move quickly.
Mhm. Yeah,
And that's because of my own experiences, really.
yeah. And we see a lot of business owners that they don't change. They don't change with the times. They don't change with technology, and if you don't change, you just get left behind. That's just how it is.
Absolutely. And listen, people, this it's the age of AI, it's the age of automation, it's the age of websites, online tools, etc., etc. And listen, whatever your thoughts and politics and your beliefs are in that, it's like it's pretty clear they're here to stay.
Yep.
So our job is quite simply to try and utilize them in the best possible way and get the best out of them for our business and for also
Mhm.
creating new opportunities and new clients, right?
Yeah, I hear a lot of people that are against AI, and like you said, it's here to stay, whether you like it or not. Like it's here. It's kind of like the internet way back in the day. People didn't like it. Well, it's still here. So like as business owners, use it because trust me, it helps your business so much. It really does. And what I like about it the most is it frees up time. And time is the most valuable asset that we have. So the more time that we can get back, the better our lives are going to be.
Absolutely. Listen, anything that can be used as a tool.
Hmm.
Ironically, I think AI allows us to accelerate certain parts of our business, but then it also requires us to be clear in terms of our focus, our passion, and our mission. It actually sort of allowing us to amplify in terms of how we can serve and how we can be. I think we are already seeing areas where AI can potentially make up new streams of business for us, but actually we find that the person behind that doesn't necessarily, maybe it isn't their passion, it isn't their thing. And I think rightly or wrongly that actually what will happen is the businesses will naturally fall by the wayside, and they will sort of not be successful because it looks good on paper. AI says it's good, but actually in reality, it's not the person's passion. And I think that comes through fairly quickly anyway.
Yep, it does. If you're someone like me, you're passionate about your business, and you use AI. Somebody told me this like a year ago, and this really helped me use AI better. He said, "Don't look at AI as a tool. Look at AI as an employee. AI, your employees will do 80% of the work. You still have to do that extra 20% to make it your own, to make it for your customer, your client, whatever."
Absolutely. And I heard this analogy and people saying there was a day that calculators being used in schools and calculators being used in universities and all that was seen as it's new and it's scary and it's the sort of the beginning of the end. And if so there was a time when calculators were seen as a threat, and you know the way everything was changing and people would become unable to do mathematics, and that may be true, still true to this day. But what happens is we adapt, we change, right? I think like I say, the ability to, information is cheaper and easier and more accessible than it's ever been. But
Yeah.
the ability to implement it is what is now different. Saying one thing, but able to, resonate in terms of what you say and what you can deliver. I think that's the thing that's going to become extremely valuable.
Yep. I agree. Now, looking back when you went through your hard time where you kind of went backwards, did to lay off employees, all that, you went into a depression. If you could say that there was one thing that helped you get through that, what would that be?
I think for me, it was just really having a focus and a goal and a belief in myself. I knew that not everyone had as much passion or desire to achieve as I did. And that's okay because we're all different people. Some people
Yep.
want more than others. So it's also understanding that, we don't, thankfully, we're not all the same. So, but it's the ability to just keep going regardless. We don't always know necessarily why we're doing what we're doing or having the strength and the stamina to keep going. But it's fundamentally underneath it when we can turn in and say that, do you know what, one of my goals was to interview 505 people, which we did, because that was part of what Think and Grow Rich was all about. Interviewing
Yep.
505 business entrepreneurs. So it's really that thing, and you have to set your own goals and your own mindset, because people around me would say, why would you talk to 500 people? Why would you interview people all around the world? Right? We all have different opinions. So I kind of had to stick to my goals and say, listen, I'm going to keep doing this. I have a term called the raving amateur, which is saying, I don't for one second say I'm a professional, because I'm not. I'm still learning. But I will turn up with a raving attitude. I'll turn up positive. I'll turn up, wanting to give it my best, do the best that I can do. But then I also reserve to make mistakes. It's not that I'm trying to, but actually, as an amateur, there's times I'll be right and there's times I'll be wrong. I'm just learning every day. And
Yep.
yeah, turning up with that attitude that actually I'll do the best that I can do and my intentions are good. Um, After a while, what happens is we stack up so much positivity, we stack up so many values, so many points of reference, so many successes. There's so much experience that actually the universe, life, etc., can't has no choice but to bring us success, to bring us wins, because we've really stacked all the odds in our favor, right? And that's all about that dogged determination to keep going.
Yep. I think that's incredible. And, it's something that people overlook. Just simply having goals, like you figure out what your goals are for life, and you can have, 10-year goals, 5-year goals, daily goals, whatever. But have your goal, and that's your why you do something. And once your why is big enough, just the a solution will reveal itself as to how you're gonna get there. Like just make it like you want it so bad you'll do anything, and that'll pull you through.
Absolutely. And even to begin with, not everyone wants to do that for themselves. So I would say, to begin with, it may be that you will want to do it for other people. You maybe haven't yet developed, your own desire to and passion for self. So why not do it for your kids? Why not do it for your partner? Why not do it for
I
your
agree.
family, your friends, etc.? I mean, I would absolutely encourage everyone saying first and foremost to be self-centered, to do it for
Mhm.
you, because ultimately then you can shine and you can, inspire everyone around you. But if you're not yet at that stage, then do it for the kids. Do it for people around you that you know, like, and trust, and
Yep.
that you value. And saying, well, okay, I'll start off with being of service to them. I'll bring value to them. I'll help them to the best of my abilities. I'll do all these things, and then after time, I hope and really have faith that people will be encouraged to then say, I love me. I love me and I appreciate me, and not just in an egotistical way, but in a way of going, do you know what? I'm a wonderful human being that has great intentions. So, you know, making sure that and putting those skills to work is the best thing I believe we can do.
Yep. I agree. I agree. And so before we wrap this up, how can people reach out to you?
So I'd say a lot of the social media channels. So I'll be on Mighty Pete. My website is mightypete.com. My book is available on Amazon and all the good booksellers. And then the podcast itself is available on iTunes and all the sort of Android platforms as well. So I'm available, I say, mightypete.com.
Awesome, awesome. And my slogan is your abilities are infinite. What does that mean to you?
I think it's we are more capable than we could ever possibly dream. And it's that understanding that what we define as our abilities quite often is a conscious thought. But actually our abilities are unconscious. Our abilities are part of our soul and our passion and our purpose. And I think that's our abilities are far greater than we any of us can ever possibly realize. So understanding that and knowing that and doing something about it, I think that's actually our duty and our passion as a human in being, to make sure we do that. Abilities, whatever background and wherever you come from in life, I think we all have an absolute duty to be of service to ourselves and to those around us to become exceptional.
Yep, I agree. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being on the show. Like, this was so insightful and powerful.
Thank you. Listen, always a pleasure and lovely to meet you today. So thank you.
If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me here, the Nick Earhart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember, your abilities are infinite.